ladies and gentlemen, research at Sigma Pensions, Mr. Wale Okunriboye. Wale, good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome. So, Lagos, you know the drill. Do send your messages 0809 444 Hit us up on Twitter at Smooth981FM. Use the hashtag Business Express 981 where we interact and talk about all things capital markets, economy, and so on and so forth. We're going to start with the petroleum industry bill. And we're getting a promise, Wale, from our oil minister. Saying that the petroleum industry bill will probably be passed by mid 2020. Wale, do you believe what he's saying? Should we be
Hopefully,
hopeful?
hopeful. I guess the word with PIB is probably hopeful because since 2008, I think
Since
that's
Obama
probably
entered office, yeah.
yeah. So and I think the big problem with is that we've missed several opportunities. So in 2008, when we initially started with PIB, oil prices were quite high. So Nigeria had, I would say, more like the stronger bargaining hand in the sense that you could extract more physical things because oil prices were high.
Mm.
And then we moved to nothing happened throughout that from oil prices came down in 2016. We tried to pass some versions. But then because the oil price environment was much lower, there was very little leverage the government had. And so, well, that version, we know what happened to that story. It didn't pass.
Right.
And so now we're back here again. Oil prices again are much lower than where they were in 2008. You have more oil being found. You have shale oil has also come through as well.
Mm.
So I don't know if it's good to have a bill which cleans up regulation or clarifies regulation around the industry and also the taxing regime. But I'm not too sure if we've missed the chance, of getting. If we'd done in 2008, we probably would have got more investments over that period, higher oil prices, and
Mm.
maybe more favorable tax terms to the government. Now it's increasingly difficult because you have more oil fields being found all over the world, and your
Investors have a choice.
IOC, yeah, they have a choice. So if
Mm.
they're going to make a decision, they'll say, okay, do I want to do it in Nigeria with this tax regime? Whereas there's another country out there that's offering me a more favorable tax regime. And then also, we're also in a world where people are increasingly getting sensitive about climate change.
Mm.
So, the long term outlook for oil is not as bullish as we were, I would say, maybe in 2008.
Mm. So this is essentially the moral of the moral of your analysis is that don't delay. You have to strike while the iron is hot
Strike
and
while
move quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right, so
Hopefully, we get it done this year. Hopefully.
I don't have to wait again. All right, thanks for that. Okay, let's move from the petroleum industry bill over to liquidity in our financial markets, in particular, a number of maturities are going to be coming in this week. In fact, a shout out to Darlington, who sent a message yesterday. And speaking of shout outs, one quick sec. Sorry. Happy birthday to Judge Ike Ikemeset, who comes in on Freshly Pressed. I said I was going to give him a shout out on the show. So happy birthday, Judge Ike. But speaking of shout out, so again, Darlington sending a message, one of the last messages we read yesterday, where he was talking about the amount of maturities coming into the market, how CBN will be able to mop it all up, the effects and so on. So please, what do you think as far as how the week is going to proceed with, bonds, everything that's coming into the market?
Yes, so as you rightly said, this week is quite heavy. We have the federal government bond maturity on Thursday. You also have some automobiles also coming through there as well. So you're going to see the financial system being awash with quite a lot of liquidity.
Mm.
Most likely, what that will mean is that puts downward pressure on secondary market yields because investors have to try and look for where to deploy those monies into in the near term. The central bank continues to insist its preferred tool for managing liquidity is the CR, the cash reserve ratio. So I think they'll do what they can with their usual weekly debits. But I think over in near term, you likely see the fact that the liquidity you're having will likely weigh down on interest rates
Mm.
near term.
And so that means that narrative is going to continue.
I think for most of February, you have that narrative being dominant. A lot of corporates probably would probably be thinking of probably if you're issuing a bond or a commercial paper, probably
Now is the time.
now is probably the time to do it. Yeah.
And then meanwhile, for me that's looking for the best return, I have few places to go because rates are now depressed.
I think I said you have to take more risks this year.
Which now and so wait, I mean have asked you this before. Does this now bode well for the equities market? Somebody sent me a tweet yesterday, in fact, saying, Rotus, you don't talk about stock market. We do. We've been talking about the stock market and how this excess liquidity should push funds in there. So is that a good? Although that's not fundamental driven, but still, what do you think? Is a good. I mean, since we have nowhere else to go and we have to take more risk.
I think the problem now with the stock market is you're seeing the last few days we've going through a bit of a sell-off. I mean,
Yes, exactly.
globally because of you're seeing a lot of foreigners getting nervous around oil countries and also the whole coronavirus just means. So you find a lot of foreigners on the sell side on the stock market in recent days. Locals are just generally trying to wait it out and see how the foreigners sell and maybe buy at the bottom of
Of
this.
that.
Yeah.
And do you remember when we were the was it the first 10 days in January? We were the highest, we had the highest return in the world. I think we made there were articles about it and so on and so forth. That's just the nature of the market. So again, so for the market, topsy turvy, back and
Yeah.
forth,
Yeah.
back and forth. Okay. I now want to talk to you about the central bank's Q4 2019 economic reports. There are a few things in them. My own, what really raised my eyebrows while you were talking about this offer is what they've been putting towards foreign exchange as far as sales and so on. Can you expand a little further on what you saw in the Q4 economic report from the central bank?
Yeah, I think it's I mean the report I mean it's been around for a while, so
Mm.
but I think came to it and I think the first thing looking at the FX side really is that 2019 is the first year the central bank has a negative net flow in 2 years. So
Please say that again, just to
okay.
explain to
So
people.
it's the first
Negative
year.
net, yeah,
So it's the first year that the central bank has paid out more money
than brought in.
than at its end, and so and you have to go back to 2016, the dark days of
The
2016.
recession.
Yeah.
Darlington
So
is going to flip his wig hearing what you're saying now. Okay, so please continue. Okay.
so I guess the big worry is, and that was because I mean you had quite a lot of sellers in the Q4. You had central bank having to intervene
Mm.
aggressively across, particularly because they had a lot of foreigners trying to take money out, and so and I think we also had oil prices were pretty much on average lower relative to where we were in the previous year. So
Mm.
in this year, you then see the question. I mean, unfortunately, and that's why you've seen reserves also come down. So this year, it then says, I mean, if oil prices are much lower this year and
Than where they were
than where
that
they were
Q4
last year,
period
yeah.
2019. Yes.
And importantly is that if you look at what goes into CBN reserves in the last 2 years, really, it's more non-oil inflows, and
Mm.
really it's those portfolio flows that have been driving CBN reserves. And so if what essentially we need is we need more foreigners to come into this market or oil prices to go up. I mean, to keep things at least at a manageable level at least. If we
Right.
don't have any of those two things, then what it means is that I mean central bank will either have to run down its reserves and manage dollar demand at some point. And if I mean the oil price outlook increasingly looks soft because of the coronavirus and everything. And so foreigners, I mean I'm not too sure if you get a lot of foreigners willing to bet their shirts on Nigeria, I mean,
Mm.
given where the oil price is. And so I think more likely central bank has a lot of questions to answer. I mean, how they whichever situation they need to one either convince more foreigners to invest in normal bills or at least try and manage dollar demand. And
Okay, but with regards to
of course, there's the D word as well, which nobody wants to say.
which the D word nobody wants to use.
Yeah.
But wait, how much more convincing can they do for foreign investors? You've already pushed out PFAs and pushed out individuals and so on, and only left banks and foreign investors in the OMO space. And those are still what I think rates there are still what 12-13% or so. What more can you do? What more can you do to time? I'm just going by the scenario you're putting
Yeah.
here. I feel that the CBN doesn't really have that many more options
So
left.
for foreign investors, I think the big worry is, like I said, foreigners are the largest share of what goes into reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll be wondering, effectively, we're almost going to be the ones that take ourselves out if there's any trouble or if, and you know the way these things work. If there's any crisis, everybody tries to go out at the same time, and it's going to be a massive call on FS reserves. So, I mean, I think ultimately what has happened in the last 1 or 2 years has been that we've been betting that oil prices will stay high. Effectively, that's what we've been doing. And if oil prices don't stay high, then we need to answer the question of how are we going to manage it? Are we going to try and maybe, I mean, manage dollar demand,
Mm.
bring back some of those monthly caps on
And I
how
love
much
how
you could
you have
spend
to
on.
love the English Wale is using with manage dollar delight. It's a lovely, polite way of saying that they could clamp down on us being able to
Well, I mean,
use
there's so
use
many
the FX.
things. There's so many things they could do.
Mm.
I mean, I think that would be whatever you need. You need to at least manage that, because if you're not earning so much, then you at least need to manage how you're
How
spending
you're
your
spending.
country's
And
goods.
look, Ibrahim just sent me and said, Brosus Wale, have you seen oil prices this morning? Shouldn't we be worried? So I think it's dropped to like
Yes,
Brent 53,
53. Yeah, yesterday.
53 now.
So
So I mean, this is Wale is happening in real time. Isaac says, "Good morning. Devaluation looks to be on the horizon. Darlington is not wrong after all." So, I, you know, anyway, we'll see. They said they did say that this coronavirus thing could peak at 500,000 cases and probably start to come down. And that's just a
estimate.
guess,
Yeah,
an
yeah.
estimate.
I mean, the big worry I think is oil demand, and I think that's where everybody, and for OPEC to quickly come out and say they want to cut out by 600,000 barrels per day, I think that's already telling us that look, they are worried that look, if demand doesn't pick up, because the market was already oversupplied. We're
Right.
already, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a December,
Exactly.
and so if you're not saying you want to do extra cuts, then it just means Chinese demand falls off. Then I mean,
That's it.
that's it. The
Well,
case for more bears taking, and if you look at fund manager positioning, more fund managers are selling crude oil than buying crude oil.
mm.
So
Well, is OPEC still relevant? People have thrown this question out there. Do you think in this day and age, with where things are now, shale oil, is OPEC still a relevant body? Maybe
I,
that's a tough question. I shouldn't ask it a harsh question. Or has their impacts been reduced over the last few years?
over time, as more oil is being produced by non-OPEC members,
Uh-huh.
the ability of OPEC to be able to manage the market is increasingly hard. And I think the only reason why we're still able to manage things now is because Saudi Arabia is tolerating everybody.
Mm.
I mean, and that's probably because why they want to do it. That's what people are thinking, is because of the IPO they're trying to do. So,
Right.
I mean, once the IPO is gone, and I
Then
mean,
what else? What
then
else
what's
do
the
you have?
incentive for them to continue to? Because, I mean, just the Q4 OPEC report came out. The January OPEC report is out, and compliance. Nigeria is one of the countries that they
They didn't
flagged
follow
that
the rules.
we didn't follow the rules. So clearly, I mean, the only reason OPEC is compliant is because of Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia, because I mean, they have this transaction they want to do, and maybe after that transaction, they will be less willing to tolerate
Right.
other members cheating, and we go back to where we were in 2014 or 19, where the Saudi just said, you know what, we're
Mm.
going to pump at
Whatever
higher levels, yeah,
rates we want to
we want to
pump
pump
at.
at. So
Yeah, this year things are they're quite interesting. Okay, Andy says we can't continue to run a country where we wish for increase in oil prices. Urgent diversification is needed. Else we go drink this crude oil. We go drink this crude oil one day. By the way, while there's the distinction that you've always made in the past and others have, when it comes to diversification, Nigeria's economy is
it's
diversified.
diversified, but our
It's
exports are
is the
is
the
where the
revenue
problem is.
side that's not diversified. All right, here he is, Darlington. Good morning, Rotus and Wale. The cyclical depletion of our FX will continue, and this is sad. CBN might have no option than to devalue H1 2020. Oil prices will drop regrettably, and we will bite again this devaluation with a bad tooth. Quotes me. The trust Darlington. Benga Kamo says, if I was a foreign investor, I'd be very nervous seeing stories of how past governors looted their states. How safe are investments? Benga is asking. Yinka is here. Can the Chinese demand really fall off? You know, these guys are like the factory of the world. Either another country like India steps up to that role. I don't see China just falling off the map. I'm sure they just want to reduce their population. Don't worry, the cure will come. Okay, message is there. Okay, let's move to insurance now. I'm hearing that ICO received investment from Leapfrog. Wale, what's happening in this space? Does it have anything to do with um, the Nikon
Recapitalization.
recapitalization thing? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you see a lot of insurance companies in one form of capital raising or the other.
Mm.
I mean, and I think this is another one of those companies. And so, and I think, and that's what's just happened. The sector has to, capital levels are going up, and companies either need to merge or receive capital from private equity, or where whichever investor is out there willing to put more money in. I think that's what's happening with ICO.
Are you optimistic about our insurance sector? Because still the penetration is just still seems pretty low. Or do we wait until after this recapitalization exercise has happened and then we possibly see some growth?
So, I mean, just as with the banking sector in 2005, I think the insurance sector needs some consolidation and much higher levels of capital so that they can at least operate on a larger scale.
Mm.
I mean, for years we've had many insurance companies. I mean, there are more insurance companies than banks.
Right.
I mean, but they were all just operating on marginal small deals, and they couldn't really insure a lot of deals on their own books. But if you have much bigger insurance companies, I mean, at least things will be able, they'll be able to invest in scale to be able to grow insurance penetration. Yeah.
Okay. KY says, I heard CBN wants to look into digital currencies. I want to know how true it is. I don't KY, I know that they were just looking at tolerating the digital currency, but I don't remember. CBN is not, yeah, no, they're not going in there. What else do we have here? Jide from Apapa says he has his money trapped in, and then he mentions an insurance company that's publicly traded. Jumoke, OPEC is still relevant, but their impact is not the same as it used to be years ago, as OPEC supply used to be 50%, but now it's much less. This is it's something else. Well, let's quickly talk about loans, and this, I think this is in Nairametrics. Nigeria is supposedly receiving the first tranche of the World Bank's $3 billion loan soon. Sorry, I should add that it's just receiving it soon, so we don't have the money yet. What was the story behind this? I can't even keep up with the number of loans that we're taking, but what's the story here with this World Bank?
So we've been trying to get a loan from the World Bank, particularly for the power sector. So there's a $3 billion number, that's amount that's on the table, potentially to sort of invest in distribution and transmission for the power sector. And I think it's under the Power Sector Recovery Program, which the World Bank is working with the Nigerian government. I think the key bottleneck, or probably what's delaying it, is the World Bank wants us to put a lot of things up front. So, I mean, the tariff has been an issue that has been on the table. I think they would like to see progress on that. I mean, that's the sense I get. I mean, why they've delayed it for so long. I mean, one of the things is, and if you read the document as well, it also says we need to ensure pricing is a bit more cost reflective.
Before they can
keep out the money. So I guess that's partly why you're seeing a lot of talk about tariff increases and things like that. I suspect that's probably what's still keeping
the Nigeria first. You raise your tariff, make sure we can get our money back before we give you this money.
Fortunately, that's the way things have to be, because I mean, Nigerian governments haven't always been credible with promises, and so people always require you post that credibility up front before they disburse funds. And I suspect it will probably be in tranches so that we can monitor progress
before giving you more money. Okay says, good morning. I think to renew investors' interest in Nigeria, we have to make the environment much more attractive, particularly when oil prices are going down. Rates on CBN bills might remain at that levels if not to increase slightly. More so, to put to rest the devaluation fear, at least for now. CBN should be unpredictable at times and also brave. Prince says here, insurance companies are competing with religious organizations that give people hope instead of safeguarding their lives and assets. That's from Prince. How much more time we got? We still air traffic control. Okay, we're out of time. Folks, thank you for your messages. Shout out to Wale Okurimboye, Head of Investment Research at Sigma Pensions. Wale, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep our eyes on this oil price thing. It's scary stuff. That's Business Express on Smooth 98.1. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Business Express on Smooth